And welcome back, everyone, to what's effectively the last part of the What If Jaden Was Deleted Duel Monsters What If. I had to re-record this because I kept messing up the battle at the end, thinking I had screwed up when I hadn't, and it was just, at that point, it was unfilmed. I could not use that version. And unfortunately, given the amount of cards I had available on screen at the time, I'm not going to be doing the version I did last time. I'm going to be doing a very simplified version. You guys. I'll try to be as clear as possible about how the duel is going. I will still have card images for highlights of what's going on in the duel. However, I am not going to be doing what I'm normally doing in the video. Should also note we're only covering the dawn of the duel at this point. The reason for that is very simple. There's really nothing in the KC Grand Tournament or in Capsule Monsters that would have any real effect on anything. Like anything at all. KC, even if they failed, which they wouldn't, there's only one duel Jaden would participate in that officially. The duel between him and Vivian was not sanctioned, nor do we catch it in its entirety. So I can't effectively do that duel. And yeah, so yeah, that really wouldn't be of any consequence. The Capsule Monster stuff was fun. Honestly, I remember watching that and completely forgetting that was even official, at least in terms of like the anime. I will say, because Yubel is around, though, the Capsule Monster thing would be very funny because she could meld with his armor. Give him Yubel armor, which theoretically should have her ability. And so when he takes a hit, the monster goes right back to the monster and just boom, done. Unfortunately, she probably has the cost of like sacrificing other creatures, something like that. So she's like a last resort option. And then her fusing with the dragon and stuff like that would happen. But no, where we are actually in this versus in this last chapter is the dawn of the duel. So with the dawn of the duel, we had obviously there was only three main duels: Kaiba versus Bakura, Yugi versus Bakura, and then Yugi versus Atem. So Jaden would only really be fighting Atem and Bakura in this. And so Bakura, let's start with Bakura. They learn the Pharaoh's name. They try to get back. Bakura stops and is like, "You'll have to beat me in a duel." Actually, my Bakura voice isn't bad. He's like, "Very fine." Now, I'm only going to be highlighting cards that are important to this match in this version. Let me know if you like this better. I'm just going to try to be as clear and concise as possible when it comes to what the overall hand was. So Jaden, Yugi went first in original, so Jaden goes first here. Jaden draws Neospace, Oversoul, Elemental Hero, Liquid Soldier. By the way, the deck list I'm using is a Season 3 deck list that you can find on YugiohPRDeck.com. This isn't one-to-one with the deck he used. Like, I don't actually ever recall him playing this Elemental Hero. I recall him playing Prisma. I also replaced the Rainbow Dragon they list in this deck list with Necroshade. So there's that. Plus some cards like Elemental Hero Sunrise, he never actually technically played. But whatever. Anyway, his cards include Neospace, Oversoul, Elemental Hero, Liquid Soldier, Monster Reborn, Generation Next, which is a cool card. And I'll explain what the cards that will play a factor will do in just a second. And Solemn Judgment. So he summons Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier, who has an attack power of 1400 and a defense power of 1300 in defense mode. He sets Solemn Judgment and Generation Next. Now, Generation Next is a quick play magic card that when you take battle damage, when you lose life points, you can special summon a Neospatian or Elemental Hero whose attack is equal to or less than the amount you took from your deck to the battlefield. And he ends his turn. It's Bakura's turn, and he summoned Doom Caliber Knight, which was a 1900 attack normal monster. Comes in, attacks, destroys Liquid Soldier. Jaden's draw. He draws Next, which is a trap card that is very effective. That allows you to basically special summon all of your Neospatians and Elemental Heroes of different names from your graveyard to the battlefield in defense mode. You can even play it from your hand if you have no other cards. It's actually pretty freaking broken. So he sets Next, ends his turn. Bakura draws, and he also set Zombra that turn as well. He draws, where is it? The Call of the Earthbound, which makes you attack a certain card. He sets that. He attacks Jaden for 1900. Jaden has to take the damage. He's down to 2100. However, Jaden activates his Generation Next to special summon Neospatian Air Hummingbird in defense mode. Now, Neospatian Air Hummingbird's effect does technically say once per turn, but I'm pretty sure it's only once your turn, because otherwise he could activate the effect of Air Hummingbird this turn, gain 2,000 life, activate it next turn, gain 2,000 life, and then go into the next turn and gain 2,000 life, which would make it broken. As far as I know, despite how it's worded, it is only once per your turn, I think. If anyone on like Master Duels or something knows if that's the case, let me know. But anyway, Jaden draws his next card, and he draws Neos Fusion, which if you're not a Neos player or Elemental Hero player, this is actually a pretty busted card. What it does is it's a poly, but what it does is you can fusion summon any Neos Elemental Hero Neos Fusion monster that costs 2 materials. Only 2 materials. You can't do the 3 material ones. Regardless of its fusion summoning requirement, and special summon it. You cannot special summon for the rest of your turn, and if that Neospatian monster were to be destroyed, you can actually activate, you can, think words here, you can remove, banish Neos Fusion. Yeah, oh, hold on, right? It's one of the cards I kept here. You can banish this card, oop, there it is, banish this card, and prevent that monster from being destroyed by card effect or battle. It's actually a pretty nuts card. And so Jaden decides to summon, sending Neospatian Elemental Hero Neos and Neospatian Aqua Dolphin to the grave to summon Brave Neos, which is must be fusion summoned with level 4 or lower effect monster and Neos. It gains 100 attack for each Neospatian or Elemental Hero in your graveyard. And when this card destroys a monster, you may search your library for an effect card and or effect card, a spell or trap card, and put it into your hand. Which Jaden would do. Think words here, God. What Jaden would do doesn't really matter the card he gets, though. It's actually kind of irrelevant. He switches Air of Hummingbird to attack mode, and he goes in for the attack. Bakura activates Somber the Dark, and he activates Call of the Earthbound. Jaden counters Call of the Earthbound because it's the next in chain with Solid Judgment. Half his life points drop. So he's now down to 2,050. He attacks with Air Hummingbird. Now, Zomber's anime effect. Zomber's a lot stronger than what you get in the anime. Physically, anyway. Because it's actually a 1,400 attack monster. Sorry, an 1,800 attack monster. But it still has the same relative same effect, just slightly different variation. When it's destroyed, double the damage, I believe double the attack is dealt to you, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, double the attack. So Jaden does take 1,600. But he, or he should, anyway, he should theoretically take 1,600. Think words here. Brave Neos attacks and destroys Doom Caliber Knight. Now, I said it didn't matter what Jaden got, and I kind of meant it. However, I think he'd also first off, he played Neospace. I think you could, honestly, he can get whatever card he wants at this point. And so it's kind of irrelevant what he would get. I think what he would get is like negate attack or something like that to protect Air Hummingbird. Because the next card that Bakura would draw is a spellcaster zombie type monster, 1,700 or whatever attack. Attacks Air Hummingbird, but he activates negate attack. And at that point now, he just activates next, brings back Dolphin and Neos from the grave. And then on his turn, he contacts Hughes for Storm Neos, bumping all the spells back into the, all spells on the field back to their owner's hands. And then he plays Neospace again, or if he hadn't already, he does, and goes in for the kill and wins the day. And so the day is saved. Woohoo, everyone's happy. Bakura's defeated. They still have to go all the way and get over to Zork, though, and Atem. I think Yubel would definitely come in handy here. As she, Jaden says, don't kill yourself, don't sacrifice yourself. We can do this without you sacrificing yourself. Her effect, though, would at least hurt Zork in retaliation with his own power pretty hard, which would be effective. But ultimately, Atem would learn his name. All's well that ends well. And so the last thing they do is have the final duel between, in this case, Jaden and Atem. Now, Neos Fusion is going to stay there because it won't be relevant later on. But suffice to say, again, thanks to TCG Anime for this, because I know how this duel breaks down. Jaden and the Pharaoh duel. The Pharaoh's opening hand consisted of the Tricky, Gaia the Swift Knight, Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight, Obelisk the Tormentor, Bounce Spell, Summoning Clock, and Card of Sanctity. Jaden's opening hand consists of Miracle Fusion, Neos, Grand Mole, Wing Karibo, Elemental Hero, Liquid Soldier, Miracle Fusion, Neos, Grand Mole, and Necroshed. That was right. So Jaden summons so the Pharaoh goes first. He discards Swift Guy the first night to summon the Tricky. Jaden would go. He would summon Grand Mole and attack. This is a problem for the Tricky because it's a special summon creature, and the Pharaoh doesn't want to have to go through the same motions again if he doesn't have to. He draws a Retribution, uses it to have Grand Mole attack Jaden for 900. But because Grand Mole is still on the field, he's not going to attack with the Tricky because he'd have to attack and he'd still be returning Grand Mole. Jaden draws, and he draws elements of Neosmation, a Dark Panther. So he summons Liquid Soldier, attacks with the Grand Mole. Grand Mole returns to the hand, as does the Tricky. Liquid Soldier attacks, deals 1,400 damage. 2,600 is the Pharaoh's life points. Should know. 2,600, 3,100 for Jaden. The Pharaoh draws, and he draws. Where is it? Tricky Spell 4. Now this is a very key moment. Because the gods were an ace for him, but not something he was desperate to keep, I think he would discard Obelisk to summon the Tricky again. Now, here is where things kind of go off the chains a little bit. He also set Bounce Spell at this point in time. He sets Summoning Clock. I think Jaden, by the way, would set Miracle Fusion just in case. So he sets everything he has in his hand, basically. And special summons... or actually, he'd probably activate Tricky Spell 4 anyway, just to be safe. And then... actually, no, hold on one second. I just need to be sure about one. Yeah, no, Tricky Spell, discard Obelisk, special summon it. Place me... Yeah. He sets Tricky Spell 4, I apologize. Sets Summoning Clock. He's got only Card of Sanctity. Plays it. Draws Mirror Force, Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Slifer, Ra, Pot of Greed. He plays Pot of Greed, draws Book of Secret Arts, and Baphomet. Now, here is where I admittedly made a mistake. I had him summon King's Knight initially. He actually would probably summon Queen's Knight, because he wants to get the King's Knight combo off. So he's summoned that. By the way, Jaden has one extra card to draw. He draws Necro Gardener. And so he goes in, attacks, and deals 2,100 damage to Jaden, destroying Liquid Soldier. Jaden draws, and here is a really big thing now. Because he's going to want to get that effect off, he's going to... I think Jaden will set Necro Gardener, which, by the way, does have a defense stat of 1,300. Sets Necro Gardener because he draws Air Hummingbird here. Originally, he drew Air Hummingbird, but because he's going to try to go for the play here. Actually, let me back up real quick. I think he does Air Hummingbird because this is what I initially had him do. He does Air Hummingbird, but then he draws Gazelle. He goes for, I think actually what he does is he goes for, hear me out, Tricky Spell 4, sacrifices, and then summons Slifer with 6,000 attack points. So he does still summon Air Hummingbird, I think. He goes back up to 4,000. Because of that, he has 6 cards in his hand. And Slifer destroys Air Hummingbird. He draws Burst Antrax, sets Necrogardna. And then Jaden, and then the Pharaoh goes. He summons. Honestly, at that point, what he summons is completely irrelevant. But he summons, let's say, King's Knight, goes for the attack, destroys Necrogardna, and Necrogardna is destroyed. But because of that, he can just end the battle right there. And so now Jaden's is really up against the wall. He draws Burstinatrix. He drew Burstinatrix on that draw. And you should note that I do this all randomly. Jaden was getting pretty screwed here. And making sure once again that I didn't screw anything up here, because as I'm reading this isn't quite adding up. Summons draw Slifer, set the Miracle Vision. So summons Gazette, Slifer destroys. Draws percentage, sets Necrogardna. Okay, yep. So this is basically where and should note that I also have an image here for him. Oh crap, I got rid of Slifer, didn't I? I had an image here of him summoning Slifer, but one second here. Let's get an image here of Slifer real quick. Unfortunately, I'll admit I'm also not feeling 100% great, so my mental faculties are a little hindered at the moment. But yeah, so he's got Slifer on the field. So Jaden's facing down Slifer, and he's facing down King's Knight. Jaden draws, and he draws Neos Fusion. Jaden knows what fusion he's going for here, though, because it's the only fusion that he can actually win the game with. Pharaoh still has Mirror Force set. But first and foremost, he's got to summon his trusty Wing Karibo to the field. Wing Karibo is automatically destroyed by Slifer's effect. But because it's destroyed on the battlefield and set the graveyard, Jaden can't take any more battle damage this turn. And so, he activates Neos Fusion to summon Elemental Hero Neos Kluger. Now, he has Wise Man in his deck, so this is a card he should theoretically be able to have. And so, now, if you're not familiar with this card's effect is, 1 second here, I'm going to just get the version I have up here on the screen. It must be fusion summons. Before damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of monsters, equal to this opponent's monster's attack. This face-up card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. While its owner controls it, you can special summon one Neos Wiseman from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, and obviously, at that point, he sees Yubel. Yubel basically goes into action. It's like, oh, what? I don't even know this card, Jaden. What is this? It's like, my ace in the hole. The true culmination between Yubel and my Neospace, my Elemental Neos. You still pay. It still loses 2,000 attack from Slifer's effect. Doesn't matter. He explains the effect. Before damage calculation, you'll take damage based on your monster's attack. It's over, Tim. Not quite. I activate Mirror Force. And there's Mirror Force. Mirror Force is not good. But Jaden's got one last ace in the hole. Because if he banishes Neo Fusion from his graveyard, he can prevent this card from being destroyed by a card effect. And so, the Pharaoh just smiles like, well done, Jaden. And just boom, and then Slifer and him, he loses the life points. Jaden's fine because he's not taking any battle damage. And so, all's well that ends well. Now, I'll have a bonus episode tomorrow because I think it's just important to go over the Dark Side Dimension. Actually, you know what? Screw it. I'm making this an executive decision. We'll go over Dark Side Dimension right now because I'll be honest, I am tired and I don't want to really go over anything else if I don't have to, but this will free me up for videos tomorrow as well. So let's get it over with real quick here. And so Tem is defeated. Jaden wins. He's sad. Yubel's sad. They'll all say their goodbyes. The tomb collapses. All's well that ends well. Well, Dark Side Dimension is a continuation of the manga for this. And I'm not going to be going over the final duel with the villain or whatever. We're just doing the Kaiba duel here. Kaiba never really respected Jaden, not realize he always, because he learned about the Pharaoh, he always assumed it was the Pharaoh doing the dueling, not realizing that when he lost in Battle City, it was to Jaden, not the Pharaoh. And so and you know what? Give me 1 second here. Yugi, I want to at least get a proper image here. Ready? Yugi versus Kaiba, Dark Side of the Dimension. All right, let's find an image real quick here. Oh, that's a nice one. And we're talking about obviously Yugi, not Atem, because that fight would not be any different really. So yeah, okay, there's that one, and we're just gonna open up a new tab real quick here. And last but not least, we got, there we go, Kaiba versus Yugi, or Jaden in this case. And so the match begins. And again, thanks to TCG Anime, I actually understand how this duel broke down. Again, Kaiba's talking shade, all whatever. Jaden's hand, this would be the Season 4 deck, by the way, has Blazeman, Elemental Hero Blazeman, Solid Judgment, Gen Next, A Hero Lives, Neospace, and Neospatian Scarab. He sets Solemn and Gen Next, summon Blazeman into defense mode. He uses this effect to get Poly into his hand and ends his turn. Kaiba's opening hand consists of Assault Wyvern, Blue Eyes, White Dragon, Chaos Max Dragon, High Speed Aria, and Dragon Fighting Spirit. The problem right out of the gate here is that Blazeman actually has a defense of 1800. Assault Wyvern has an attack of 1800. It can't get over that. And the whole idea of that duel was Kaiba destroyed it, got out his Blue Eyes immediately, and was on the offensive. Here, Kaiba can't do that. So he kind of has to end the turn, and he sets High Speed Aria. Jaden draws Neospatian Aqua Dolphin, plays Poly, using Scarab and Blazeman together to summon Elemental Hero Nova Master, which is a fire elemental hero monster with 2,600 attack and 21 defense. Its basic ability is when it destroys a monster, you gain you get to draw a card. He destroys Assault Wyvern, dealing 800 damage to Kaiba. Keep in mind, in this duel, they had 8,000 life points. He draws Honest Neos, which is a busted card, actually. So Kaiba draws Chaos Form, uses it to summon Chaos Max Dragon. But Jaden counters by playing Solemn Judgment. However, Kaiba counters by playing High Speed Aria, which basically lets you discard a normal card in your hand and play it like a normal spell card in your hand and play it like an instant. So he chains the chain, and basically because the last thing in the chain goes first, he's still able to play his Chaos Max and summon out Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. And so he attacks Nova, only to have Honest Neos' effect kick in when he discards it to have it add its attack power to an elemental hero, boosting it to 5,100, destroying Chaos Max and allowing Jaden to draw cards, which he draws Miracle Contact. Kaiba's now down to 6,100. Jaden draws Yubel, summons Dolphin, and attacks. Kaiba at this point would have drawn White Eyes Deep Dragon, and it wouldn't have mattered. Ultimately, in this duel, Jaden completely bitch slapped Kaiba. Like, completely owned him. Now, this is a little bit of a factor in the sense that cards had progressed at that point in terms of complexity. So I think one of the reasons Jaden dominated this duel so well is because his cards, while still in the general same era of style of play, were a lot stronger than most of the cards in the original duel monsters. Particularly if you get to Season 4. Now, granted, Chaos Max and all those are severely powerful cards. However, it didn't really matter in this case for Kaiba because the whole strategy based on that was Assault Wyvern destroying a monster and getting Blue Eyes out. And so then the villain comes, they fight him off, Pharaoh comes, beats him, end of story. And then Kaiba goes to the afterlife, allegedly. It's implied. Although, while it is implied that he died, a lot of people have brought this up, implied that he died, I would like, and because he's like disintegrating as he's in there, I would like to point out that he had his Bleeding Edge dual disc with him. And it was proven that his technology was so advanced when the villain came the first time around and they dueled. His technology was so advanced that he could actually offset a lot of those things temporarily. Now, and there is an alternate, as people have pointed out, there's an alternate ending where he's playing Yugi's new game with Yugi in the space station above the world. So, I leave it to you. Whatever the implications are, based on what you think, knowing how skilled Kaiba is, do you actually think Kaiba died? Like, I mean, hypothetically, when you really think about it, this is basically Kaiba saying, I'm going to go duel the Pharaoh. Kaiba, Mokuba, give me that gun. The big brother, what do you just blows his head off and goes to the afterlife, so he's doing. But I don't know. His jet's still there. And I mean, how exactly did he get to the afterlife? Are they implying he crashed his plane and wound up there? Or are they implying that he actually figured out a way to break the dimensions? Hence Dark Side of Dimensions, like kind of the movie a little bit. Knowing Kaiba, I think he actually survived, despite the implications. If no one has flat out said he died, then I don't buy he died. And again, I know it's a sequel to the manga, not the anime. But again, the fact that he's alive in the anime, just pointing it out there. Because there is a lot of connection. And he is mentioned as a legendary duelist in the manga, but he's never mentioned to be alive per se. I don't know. I like the idea that Kaiba is... I mean, there's two ways. I like the idea that Kaiba didn't care about his life. He just wanted to duel the Pharaoh one more time to prove he was better than the Pharaoh. But honestly, he honestly did lose to Yugi. So, and even though the duel stopped, it is proven he would have lost that duel. And so Yugi is better than the Pharaoh. So what do you have to prove, man? But I actually like the idea that even if he wins or loses, he could still get back there. I actually like that. So how was the afterlife? It was hot and boring, Mokuba. It was nothing but a desert. I'm gonna live forever, damn it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back next week with Dragon Ball Z What Ifs. And I'll put up a poll tonight for what you want the next Dragon Ball Z What If to be. But more importantly, what did you think of the What If? Did you like it? I can't do simulators on my computer. I just can't do that. I can't do like Duel Links or whatever, anything like that. So, or whatever the simulators are. I just can't do those. So, if you can think of maybe a more effective way for me to maybe try to illustrate the duels, because right now this is kind of the best I can do. So I don't know. Give me some suggestions. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't worry, I will do more of these down the road. But I won't do another lead swap for a while. When I do my next Yu-Gi-Oh! What If, it will be either what if Jaden had one of the legendary dragons, or what if Jaden, or if Joey was a Red Eyes player. I'll put that for a vote in the comments when the time comes. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.